I just want to take a few minutes and reveal some truth about the Djinn, and the reason why I'm doing that, because I feel like there's too much propaganda, misinformation, and a general ignorance, lack of information regarding this topic. So, we're going to be reading from the Grand Order of Draco Slayers, also known as Uncle Bearheart, blog backup. The article is titled Out of the Bottle, the Djinn, the Who, and the What. Other than Robin Williams as a big blue animated genie, I was somewhat surprised to learn that Djinn have found their way into Western consciousness and had become so maligned even outside the Islamic worldview. A quick Google search revealed why. A number of research writers, and I use those terms loosely, within only the last couple of years have released a movement of fear-based sensationalism on a largely unaware Western culture who has been effectively and socially programmed to see anything from the Middle East and or wearing a turban as a terrorist. Imagine how easy it would be to sell the demons of Islam, the Jinn, as a spiritual Taliban force. It's easy, and from the looks of it, it worked. In just a couple of minutes of internet searches, I found many comments suggesting the Jinn possessed the 9/11 hijackers, most of which have been found alive, and I'm not even going to argue that 9/11 was the CIA and Mossad ran false flag. In understanding of the malign nature of the Jinn, one needs to understand the very word demon. The word demon comes from its far older origin word daemon, a word that existed long before the advent of the Zionist-steered cult called Christianity, whose purpose was to create political unrest in Rome. All spirits who could affect the physical realm are daemons. Daemons means powerful spirit. There is no indication of morality with the word itself. Your own spirit is a daemon encased in flesh, and we all have a number of personal daemons which serve as spirit guides as part of a spiritual court. As Christianity grew from and became a campaign of vilification towards anything and everything it saw as a threat to its power, the word daemon became demon, and all gods, goddesses, and guardian spirits of non-Christians were demonized. Like deeming someone a terrorist and thereby now an enemy of the state, once something was called demon, this gave the Christian church their justification to wage violent war against it. What worked then still works now, and it's only the words that have changed. The Jinn are indeed the demons of Islam. Islam is the third and thankfully final sociopathic son of Abrahamic religion spawning, Judaism and Christianity being Islam's older murderous brothers. All power-mad, land-grabbing, profit-hungry institutions need an unseen, nebulous enemy to wage eternal war against. See America's current foreign policy in regards to its war on terror. For Islam, this enemy was found with the Jinn. So what are the Jinn? In simplest terms, they are a race of interdimensional beings that were sparked from the first swirlings of the formulation of the universe, comprised entirely of light and sound. They are not spirits such as the 72 spirits of the Goetia, and the suggestion that the 72 spirits are Jinn is wholly laughable, and I will hint at why. I have talked about the Wheel of Ezekiel in a past blog. It is a vortex of vibrations and tones. One that is roaring like a lion, a bellowing like a bull, screeching like an eagle, and finally a song voice, ah or om, like a man. Each sets a particular order of events in motion with a set of consequences. These are the pure elemental forces as represented by the ace cards of the tarot. They have not yet reached manifestation and are not yet what we know as air, fire, water, earth, but where these qualities and eventually substances come from. By looking at the world universe card of the tarot, you will see the lion, bull, eagle, and man much like the recounting Ezekiel's vision, as this completes a circle of unmanifested to the manifested. You can isolate and or blend them to create more varied results. The act was the creation of the universe and is transcribed in ritual magic's The Opening of the Watchtower, something the Golden Dawn's Israel Regardie did not design but borrowed. The passage, holy and formless fire, that fire which darts and flashes through the unseen, hidden depths of the universe, this is a birth of the Djinn. The Djinn in Islamic sources are said to have been born of a smokeless fire. So what kind of fire is still a fire yet produces no smoke? It's light and heat, movement, energy. The Djinn are given existence with the intonement of the roaring like a lion. Western ceremonial magic has roots in the ancient magician and sorcerer cults in the Middle East and Mediterranean. So the lion roar is Leo, and due to its harsh, hot, and sizzling nature, given the designation of fire. The 72 spirits of Goetia, and in truth, all spirits which reside primarily on the astral realm, were birthed through the intonement of the Ah or Om of that which is like a man or air. To make matters a little more confusing, the spirits of the 72 Goetia are linked to the Luna, Moon, and Pluto, both incarnate and disincarnate human spirits, as where the Djinn are not. One day I will talk about the full moon, Luna, and dark moon, Pluto, and their relationship to Uranus and Earth in the true aspects of Western ritual magic-based necromancy. The Djinn and the Goetia spirits are not the same. One can be thought of as fire and the other air. It is when you actually understand the creation story and formulations of the tree of life that you can call yourself a true magician. Many so-called magicians have absolutely no grasp on this unmanifest to manifest, first swirlings to present swirlings, and thus they cannot and do not experience consistency in their work. The Djinn are a race of beings that are as old as creation. They were originally not linked to humankind whatsoever and had no interest or even knowledge of this planet. Humanity, on the other hand, is not as old as creation. We came from much later, and we who are now, through a criminal genesis, which took an evolving life form who might have one day become what we know as human, and force warp sped its evolution into a creature who could be a more profitable and controllable slave race. Our world has been through a number of different eras. These eras, usually lasting hundreds of thousands of years, our so-called puppet masters have learned to manipulate from behind the scenes rather than up front as god kings or god queens. Humans tend to rebel, and we are very talented at violent resistance once a common enemy is identified. The wave pattern has been the same throughout our eras. We either grow so powerful and the small elite so corrupt we destroy ourselves back into a new Stone Age, or our so-called puppet masters feel are we becoming a threat to them and schedule a near-global extermination event, asteroid strike, viruses, volcano, etc., to dwindle us down in population and de-evolve our technology. From what I am told by my mentor, and he was told from his Cambodian teacher, is that a pre-Atlantean civilization of both high science and high magic opened a portal to a new dimension sometime in the second era. We are in the fifth or sixth era currently, a discussion for another time. This civilization happened to be located where the current Middle Eastern worldview is firmly established, and the Djinn took a foothold upon this earth. So, in time that has passed, the peoples inhabiting this area have come to contact the Djinn, which still pass through a vortex which was opened. Thus why the Djinn have been largely localized to that part of the world. This pre-Atlantean civilization is said to have started isolating and entrapping the Djinn as sources of power to feed off of. This is what sparked off a long and vicious conflict. The Djinn are largely outside of the grip of time, essentially immortal but not completely. And remember this event. Many of the Djinn are still very angry and bitter at this. Humans die and humans forget. This event has all but been erased except for a few dedicated lineage holders of Djinn conjuration. In the Islamic worldview, the jinn refuse to submit to the will of Allah, who in truth is probably the demiurge, also known as Yahweh. Same God, same bullshit religion. The jinn have free will, and not unlike you or me, dislike being forced to follow or obey anything they don't agree with. Jinn conjuration traditions that came through that pre-Atlantean civilization and are blended with Islam practice trickery, extortion, and coercion to entrap jinn to do their bidding, much like the Hebrew Golden Dawn methods that hide behind Yahweh like little bitch and bully the Goetia spirits. Both the jinn and the Goetia will enact revenge. Anyone practicing these methods have a deep darkness within their spiritual matrix. This form of tyrant veneration and slave master training, a hidden pathway into the energy current of the reptilian-inspired Illuminati spiritual tenets. The jinn are as individual and unique as we are. They each have their own drives, their own ambitions and desires. There are jinn who have taken up many different spiritual paths of man. There are jinn who have adopted Buddhism and have become Catholics. Mormons appear in voodoo, Sanse, sorceress cults of Quimbanda in South America and Indonesia, Cambodia, and even Shinto in Japan. Some jinn even adopted the Muslim faith. Some jinn are bent on the eradication of humanity and have helped or deceived certain groups in power to kill off large populations of humans, start wars, create powerful weapons with the hope that history will repeat itself and we will destroy ourselves with them, and open up portals to even more sinister and alien realms to spill these horrors upon the earth. See Montauk disaster. Other jinn seek to help and defend humanity and take spiritual interest in particular spots on the earth, environmental areas, and become self-appointed protectors, or devoted themselves to other topics of study. Some jinn are deeply addicted to energy resonance of certain chemicals or narcotics. Some love the sight and energy release of human sexual activity. Some enjoy torture. Some like sports. Others still love affection and warmth. All have a combination of desires that again places them in the same level of complexity as us. The jinn also have their own forms of magic and their own religions too. It is a vast group of being we are talking about, and it is impossible and at the height of arrogance to say that they are this particular way, just because as humans we have universal truths about us, but many individual exceptions to our own set rules. The jinn often seek a foothold in this world. They are curious by nature and like exploring different realms. This realm is but one. The jinn are so varied that most humans have at least one jinn that has taken a particular interest in them, a certain something they find interesting about our own individual vibration, no matter how mundane we seem to think we are. These jinn can be spoken to. In fact, if you are very smart, you will realize I have revealed how to do it already. In the method I was taught, I ask a jinn if they would like to work with me or another human, sometimes a particular human. Only if the answer is yes do I begin to develop a vessel, usually a bottle for them to inhabit. I do not lock them in there. If the human does not keep up their end of the deal, the jinn is free to leave and not suffer years or possibly centuries of imprisonment. The bottles I make are like theater booths. The jinn may sit in and observe the material world for as long as they wish. The human can talk to them, ask favors of them, ask them questions, and form a relationship with them. The jinn gets to evolve alongside a human and experience a new form of existence. This is in line with being a god, a goddess in the circle, aiding in another's awaken of potential while the human is enacting their own. This is a religious activity mixed with true sorcery and mediumship. Working with a jinn is very empowering. Their energy is vitalizing to a human and they can help keep you active and healthy. Their energy is stimulating and enlivens human cells. Their invisible light is like UV light to cancerous cells, and their presence helps to awaken human RNA, and thus we aid them in their potential to help unlock hidden potential in us. Do you finally fucking see how this all works? Give and take and a mutual relationship. This is a path of becoming a living god, goddess, as it were, and not some ridiculous black magic, made up nonsense where you rape, torture, and enslave, for fuck's sake. I'm in my mid-30s now, and I'm often thought of being 26 or 27. The Cambodian sorcerer my mentor learned from was in his 70s, but had the perpetual feeling of being in his 40s. The Djinn can empower any magical working you perform, and as your relationship blossoms, they generally want to keep you around and work to promote longevity in you. There is a near unlimited plethora of information and rituals you can glean from developing a working with a Djinn, and possibility of being around in a functional, healthy body to do a lot of it is very real. If you are indeed interested in working with the Djinn, let me know. The bottle preparation is $100. You can do installments, it doesn't matter to me. It is a lifelong working and a bottle that you are meant to keep and even pass on to your children, or maybe a student of your own one day. All instructions come with it. I speak to the Djinn, understand its intentions, and create a bottle specific to its own energy patterns. No bottle will ever be the same. Past that, I hope that this entry helps unmuddle the asinine information being defecated out of the brains and mouths of very unqualified and uninitiated laymen about the Djinn, and helps you make better choices on your own spirit journey and the many allies and entities that you can and should develop relationships with in your awakening of higher potential. Uncle Bearheart. January 12th, 2014. Of course, this is a backup article. There's another date on there. Friday, 29th, January 2016.